Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Show. You can check me out on Twitter at Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley, Instagram, Total Tutor, Pinterest, Neil Haley, Google+, and also on Periscope at Total Tutor. And I want to welcome to the program Peter Alvidge, my assistant. And we got a little story to tell before our first guest calls on the line. Peter, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Fantastic, Peter. Tell our audience your story, basically why you have this such passion about your art and everything, and what's going on with you.
So, for those who don't know, I suffer from two different genetic diseases that basically affect my eyes. The first one is glaucoma, which deals with eye pressure, and the other one is corneal dystrophy, which is the degeneration of your light and color reception cells in the eyes. Of course, it's extremely long story short because there's a lot more to that, but over the last few years, my vision has been decreasing. But however, ever since I was in school, I've had the love for art, and when I started losing my vision, I kind of came to a point where I'm like, can I do art anymore?
Right.
What can I do? And I found pixel art, which is basically you make images for pixel or using a grid. And I found out that I could do this, that I could see this, and I'm like, you know what? I'm getting back on the wagon. I want to do art. I'm going to figure out how, and thus I've been doing it for, I think it's about 5 years now.
Wow, okay. And so, and Peter's going to be our liaison today in between guests from 10 to 10:30, and maybe staying on the line this whole hour will be great in a way if I have to chat with you for 4 or 5 minutes. But what I've noticed is from the challenges you've gone through, you constantly are a learner, and you're learning more and more about how to get this message out. And especially since we've known each other in the past 6 months, how amazing the connections you can make on social media and how amazing the platform it is when it comes to YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of those platforms.
Well, yeah, it's, the thing is ever since I was in school, and this was particularly reinforced during when I was starting to do adaptive sports in high school.
Yes.
Where I wanted to continuously learn. I wanted to learn one new thing every day.
That's great.
One new thing. And if I've learned one new thing, I'm moving forward. Okay. And the major thing, like in the last few years, has been learning a new thing about social media, learning a new thing about art. How to advertise, how to promote, all that great stuff.
Yes.
It keeps going and it keeps rolling, and I keep learning new things, and then I keep making connections, and next thing you know, you're growing huge numbers on social media.
Yeah. When you have interesting things to share and you learn how to find those followers and find the right people. Because to be honest, Peter, that's what you've learned also in social media. There are a lot of just people that are really not who they are on social media, that are just like just hiding out and really have no presence to find the real people on social media.
Yeah, I mean, I love connecting to a lot of, I connect to a lot of entrepreneurs, I'm connected to a lot of artists, because I like to give feedback from other people as well as give feedback to other people. And, there's a lot of people out there that want to get their brands and things out there, but they're not actively connecting to other people or messaging. Or my personal favorite, my personal pet peeve is that they're particularly on Twitter or any other social media networks, they don't have profile pictures or they don't have background pictures, because it's like,
yeah,
how do we know you're a human?
Exactly.
You don't have anything on there. I want to know that you're a human, that I'm connecting to somebody, and it's not just a robot, and that we're making it a stable connection, because if we're not, what's the sense of me taking my time to connect with you,
Right. And that's the point. So your ultimate dream or mission, Peter, and that's great. We're talking to social media because we might be doing some more chit chat on social media later on other shows. It's definitely my co-host on the Total Litigation Hour on Fridays. Somehow you got put in this position, and you're always going to be available for different co-hosting events for me. But tell us specifically what this mission is. You really want people to understand that adults and children with disabilities can be exceptional, that they can be extraordinary and be able to do anything they want, regardless of something that you might lack. It doesn't matter because of the perseverance through adults and children with exceptionalities, correct?
Yeah, I mean, all through school, and I had fantastic teachers and everything. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But all through school, there were kids, there were teachers, there were people that told
Yes.
told me particularly, and other kids, well, you're different. You're not going to be able to do things like other people.
Mhm.
And the major thing is that I couldn't do art. There was no way I could do art, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna figure it out. I want to do it. I'm not going to accept that limitation, and I feel that other people out there who have these dreams, these things that they want to go for, these goals that they want to reach, I know that they can do them because I'm about 90% blind, and I'm still an artist. I do
Yep.
social media, I do YouTube, I do Twitter.
Exactly.
I know that there's people out there, and I know people who are in a worse case scenario than I am who are doing social media. So I mean, I know people can do these things, and I think that there needs to be a story, that there needs to be something out there that's a symbol for everybody to look at that inspires them or that motivates them. And I want that to be my art, my story to inspire people and to make them passionate and to have them persevere through the challenges, because there's going to be some really, really harsh days, particularly if you have a disability, but there's also going to be these incredible days where you just overcome these challenges that you're like, oh my gosh, look what I've accomplished over this, maybe it's a week, maybe it's
Exactly.
maybe it's a year, you never know.
And that's the fabulous part of it, right? That's the fabulous part about it, Peter, is that that you can accomplish anything. It doesn't matter what you have. You could have people who have autism that can still be successful in society, and they will focus on their strengths and the things that make them weak. I think, Peter, one thing I get frustrated in schools to hear about is they don't want to use the word disability anymore. Yet disability is the important thing for people to understand, that we need to be there to help the disability that adult or child has, and then utilize their exceptional other skills to be successful, to help that disability. Why are we eliminating that disability term to things, Peter? Why is it like they don't even want to use it as diagnoses anymore in in IEPs and things like that? Because I think that just think of adults with physical limitations and disabilities. They do have them, and they need to have help in that certain way. Tell us, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on your point of view of what disability means. Unfortunately, because there's so many different forms of it, people take, the word disability in different ways. The way I perceive disabilities, I perceive it as, okay, I do things differently than everybody else. It doesn't mean I'm bad. It doesn't mean I'm crazy or whatever. I just do things differently than other people. And, and I refer to myself as disabled or have a disability, or what I generally like to use now is a different ability. I'm not really technical on words. It's how you look at the term disability. And I think that there's so many people out there that are viewing disability as a bad thing. They're viewing,
Exactly.
as something that either they can't overcome, or that's for flipping a scenario where someone needs a whole ton of help. Because ultimately, if you think about it, everybody learns a different way, and if they figure out how they've learned, they'll be able to convey that to the to the teacher or to whoever is helping them. and then it will seem less of a of a daunting task because then the person will have a game plan, and then the assistant or teacher, whoever it is, will have a game plan to help them out, and you just continue to snowball from there. I mean, because that's ultimately what happened to me is that for so many years, teachers told me what I needed, and it didn't work. And I started telling teachers what I needed instead of them saying so. And then we started creating game plans. And next thing you know, I was going into college for graphic design.
Right.
Unfortunately, because of the vision, I couldn't continue that. But to get to that point where I'm going into college for art classes, and even my art teachers in college are like, "How are you going to do this?" And I told them, I said, "I'm going to figure it out." I said, we're on this ride together, and we did. And I had fantastic art teachers, and
Yes.
I learned different art forms, and I did it all despite my blindness, and I did all the tests, and I had very minimal adaptations, maybe some audio things, but otherwise I compensated. I learned to I figured out how I needed to learn, and then I implemented it and went for it.
All right, so this is the fun thing is you might see me texting live in the studio TV-wise when you're watching the video, but we're waiting on our next guest to call in, so we have our co-host Peter Elvidge on the line talking about his story in certain ways, but our next guest that's supposed to come up is involving a show, and just to give you it's going to be Marty Rainey of the new Discovery series, Homestead Rescue, and it's going to be premiering Friday tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. And so, Peter, it's interesting enough that when we have these interesting situations, so I'm just going to keep you on the line because we're going to be kind of doing liaison things, so just keep listening and stay on throughout this hour because this is going to be the most hectic television radio taping I've ever done in my life, just because I don't know when people are calling. Moving on after that, Peter, we have Michael Damian at 10:30 and a veterinarian author at 10:45 today. So it really is interesting, and an educator calling in, I think, at 10:20. And I think, Peter, I sent you that email on that, so you have to go and check and see if they know the call-in number. I think I CC'd you on that email. So we'll be playing both those different things. So when we get back, we'll have our guest. You're watching The Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment. We're back to The Neil Haley Show and live, Total Celebrity Live, Neil Haley Live, whatever you want to call it, on the radio. And I'm with Peter Elvidge. And Peter, see, I have learned this business from the days when I stepped into WRCT Studios live, that you never know what's going to happen live. So we threw you into this mix. You got another opportunity, another story to tell. And we kind of dialogue on all this. So what do you think of this whole celebrity thing? You've really had to be thrown into pop culture since you've been my assistant for the last 4 to 5 months to really learn about all these platforms and interesting celebrities. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, I was into it beforehand, but I'm divulging more into like the histories of different clients, what they've done, what they're going to do. What they're currently, and then like their social media networks, and it's interesting because I'm learning new things as well as seeing people that I know already, and it's fun, it's interesting, and that's the thing is that with this particular opportunity, it's never the same thing every day, and that's what I like. I want something that it's never the same thing over and over and over. It's always something different, always something new. I'm just that way. I like exploring tons of different things.
Oh, by the way, we're going to take you off the line now, Peter. We'll bring you back. I'm going to make sure our guest is on the line. So we're excited to welcome to the program Marty Rainey from the new Discovery Channel series, Homestead Rescue. Marty, thanks for calling. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm looking outside in a clear blue sky. I think yesterday might have broken a heat record for Alaska. I don't remember ever being as hot as I was yesterday, ever. I've been here 42 years.
Really?
And we're pushing 20 hours of daylight.
That's crazy, Marty. Are you serious? So that Alaska, a heat wave. What are you considering a heat wave, Marty?
Well, I have to be careful because I don't like saying things that I'm not absolutely certain about. But I think someone said it might have hit 80 yesterday, and for Alaska, at 20 hours of daylight that's a lot of heat. I was working outside on a project framing a building, and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" But, yeah, it was. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining because it could also get 80 below here.
So tell us about how this story happened and how you get the series Homestead Rescued. How did that start about?
That's a good question. I had been involved with the adventure projects as a guide on Mount McKinley or Denali.
Okay.
And I did a breast cancer film and a Swiss film and different things over decades. And then I ended up on an adventure series at another network. I did 35 episodes. So I guess adventure and my family name, Marty Rainey and his family, it got around in a small town of New York or London or LA. And different people approached me with different things, and I didn't really feel comfortable. It was too scripted. It was going to be fake.
Yes.
And I don't want to do that. So when Discovery came along and said, "Listen, you want to do something that's another aspect of your life?"
Okay.
Adventure slash helping homesteaders because you're a builder, off-grid builder. You've lived off-grid. You've lived in floating logging camps. You've lived on homesteads. How would you like to help people? And you can do it with your kids. Then we began a dialogue, and it came to fruition. And they kept their word, and this will be the least scripted TV that anyone's ever watched.
See, I love hearing that word, least scripted. Tell us, so the other shows, other stations that have pitched you, it would have been just scripted, a storyline, not real in so many ways, right, Marty?
Yeah. I have to be careful here because, there's so many people in this business, but I will say, over the air unhesitatingly that it's no strike against anybody in this business. That's just the way reality TV is made. Someone sits in an office and has an idea, especially on an Alaskan show.
Yes.
And then they write it in their office in LA. Then they come to Alaska and tell them what to say. You don't have to script an Alaskan. Alaska is better than fiction, and Discovery is very cool about that when it came to our show.
Yes.
They recognized that my wife and I and our 4 kids were very sensitive to being misrepresented, and we definitely equally didn't want to misrepresent Alaskans.
Oh, yes. And a story about Alaska, and I won't, Marty, I know if I had longer, I'd ask you a question about someone we know who's in Alaska, but I'm not going to ask that opinion. I'm sure it probably is brought up during the reality show, possibly. We'll find out when we see the series. So what are we going to expect? Your family's involved. Define homesteader really quick for me, what a homesteader is.
A successful homesteader is a person that went into the country. He's usually without power.
Okay.
And he's providing his own sustenance. He's living off the land, he has his own garden, and probably harvesting animals. And he's taking care of his own predator control issues. Why? Because he's moved out far enough that cougars, mountain lions, bears, coyotes, birds, hawks, eagles, buzzards are, that's their neighborhood, and now you've moved into it, and you have to learn to live with them. So that would be a successful homesteader. And by the way, there's plenty of us that have moved to the bush or lived in the bush and definitely couldn't make that kind of a checklist. So to say a person is doing it perfectly, those are the exceptions. Most of us have an area that needs improving or help with, or more time, more time dedicated to it, to correct it, to support the homestead success. And that is the premise. Good question, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
The premise of the show.
See, and I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't survive at all, Marty. You might as well say, stick a foot. If you put me out in the wilderness, my wife always said this, you're just not handy and you couldn't survive out there. I would be dead. I would need to call Marty in seconds, text you or something, or scream, Marty, help me, because I just can't survive in the wilderness at all or anywhere. So I can just imagine Alaska and the challenges that involve that.
Well, first of all, we got to fix that attitude, because I disagree. I've had people say many times to me, I can't make it to the summit. I can't make it to the top. I can't make it to the next camp. And then, sit down and try to be logical and pragmatic, helpful, and empathetic with people. And quite frankly, this was something I didn't expect on the show, but it happened organically, and it happened to the point of tears.
Oh my!
Go ahead.
No, I said, oh my. Okay, well, we're getting close to running out of time. So, Marty, best place. Again, everyone tune in tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern, Discovery Channel, Homestead Rescue. Best place to find information on you, Marty. Where can we go?
MartyRainey.com is a good starting point.
All right. Well, I hope everyone checks it out. Thanks, Marty, for calling, and take care, and best of luck to everything. You're on Twitter and all the other social media, I'm sure, as well, right?
To be honest with you, I'm kind of a bush rat, crazy 19th century guy. I think my secretary has set all that stuff up, but to be honest, the only thing that I really have figured out, because it's so simple, is Facebook. But I have Twitter. I just don't know if I can. I just don't know if I can bring myself to Twitter, but I do Facebook for sure.
All right, Marty. Thanks for calling. Take care, man.
And thank you.
All right, you're watching the Neil Haley Show, and we're about to go and get our next guest on the line. Now college. So we were surviving the wilderness. And Greg, are you on the line surviving how we can get in the best colleges? How are you?
I'm doing well, Neil. There's no better way to transition to college admissions than talking about survival. So I agree with you.
Yes, so we went from a reality television star to Greg Kaplan, and Greg is the author of Earning Admission, Real Strategies for Getting into Highly Selective Colleges. We only have a short time, but I'll tell you right now, Greg, in my business owning a tutoring and consulting company, I got a lot of high school athletes that want to get into the best schools and, that wouldn't get them if it wasn't for their athletic prowess. And then you got these other families that dream from the 7 years old for them to get to Harvard, Yale, Carnegie Mellon we'll bring up in Pittsburgh. So Greg, how do we do this in a short soundbite of 4 to 5 minutes, get it into the best colleges, the highly selective colleges?
Sure. So first and foremost, let's encourage our kids to excel academically. Mm-hmm. In order to get into one of these highly selective colleges, you need to have the requisite grades in SAT or ACT scores. And then the problem from there is that you have plenty of kids who have strong grades, like A's, and, straight A's, a few B's, that's okay, than the strong SAT scores. But at that point, we still have way more applicants than the spots at these schools. So at that point, it all becomes about differentiating yourself.
Yes.
Demonstrating to a college that you can add value to it. So athletics, the arts, leadership ability, perspective in an essay. What I recommend to the clients I work with is creating an application theme that unifies every part of the application and really focusing on one or two things that an applicant loves doing in high school and becoming as good as they can as possible in that area so they can try to do it at the college level.
So that's such a good point. So Greg, it's not just your SAT, ACT. You said that's the most important thing for a highly selective college. Then comes the GPA, and then the rest is differentiation. How are you going to differentiate yourself from the masses? Like somebody who's a Harvard admissions, how many applicants do they get that have all the credentials, yet they only choose a few?
That's the problem we're faced with right now, and I think this. Colleges don't look for well-rounded applicants. They look to create a well-rounded class. So they need kids for their squash team. They need kids that are going to conduct research in their labs. They need kids who are going to be in their university orchestra. A student can be a niche player and be very successful. The key is that niche needs to be something that the college admissions officer needs in their incoming class. So what I encourage is, if a student's very interested in robotics, that's fine. Demonstrate that interest. Enter robotics competition and contact the person who runs the robotics class at the college your child's interested in, and try to use that as leverage to get in, because the traditional mold of being, and this is someone who did this in high school, who was class president, who did every activity for the sake of doing it, that model is no longer sufficient. It's really it's specialized niche players. It's almost like applying for a job where you have a specific, you're very good at a specific area that you can bring to a company where they have people who fill other needs.
All right. Well, fantastic. That's a great point. But I'm telling you right now, everyone needs to check out your book, Greg. And I think that the thing is that you're right. There's a lot more to this in highly selective schools. You have to really differentiate yourself. And there's a lot of different things that are involved in your book. Correct, Greg? Earning an admission. And it's not just going to be a cut and dry resume. You're competing with international students. You're competing with homeschool students. You're competing with a ton of people for a few spots. So people got to check out your book. Greg, best place we can find information on you and learn more about you. Where can we go?
www.earningadmission.com is the name of the book. And then I am on Twitter and Facebook with Twitter at Greg_earn_ADMSN. So best place though, earningadmission.com, link to my Facebook, my Twitter. I answer questions on both. Happy to help in any capacity.
Well, Greg, we're going to have you back on for a longer. I'll get back to your team about bringing you back on for more of a roundtable discussion, education-wise, about college admissions and stuff. Just wanted to kind of get you on the show. You definitely fit a spot in this crazy day of TV and radio. So, Greg, thanks for calling.
Thanks for having me today, Neil. Appreciate it.
All right, take care. You're watching The Neil Haley Show. Take care, guys, and we'll see you next week with another exciting show.